Sahana Vavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahavidyan Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Good. Welcome to you all. Instead of our usual weekly Bhagavad Gita class today, as we announced, we are celebrating the 21st anniversary of our Arsha Bodha Center Ashram here in New Jersey. And nice to share this anniversary celebration with all of you. In years past, usually our anniversary celebrations were big functions with hundreds of people, an elaborate program, and nice food after the program. Today, it's just me and my assistant, Vasanti, and of course, all of you. In fact, because of all of you watching this, our celebration is actually larger this year than in past years. Last year also, we weren't able to hold an in-person anniversary celebration, so our celebration last year also was virtual. For 21 years ago, we began our Saturday morning class. And it's continued pretty much without interruption for most of these 21 years. Mostly we've studied Bhagavad Gita in those classes. We've spent a number of years also studying portions of the Mahabharata. But that Saturday morning tradition was rudely interrupted in March of last year, March of 2020, when the pandemic caused us to shut down. And of course, we shut down for everyone's safety. Of course, we transitioned to these online classes. And on Saturday mornings in the past year, we've had classes on Atma Bodha, classes on Advaita Makaranda, a rather advanced class. And then we began teachings on the Bhagavad Gita. We began from the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, and we're actually coming close to the end of the second chapter now. We'll continue that Bhagavad Gita class next week, of course. And in addition to the Saturday class online, we also, every Sunday, we've been uploading a lesson from my course on meditation. That course has 42 lessons, and we're not even halfway through. So each week we're uploading a meditation lesson. And until just a few weeks ago, Vasanti has been teaching online 2 Sanskrit classes each week. All of her Sanskrit classes will also be resuming, I think, in fall. When we shifted our classes to online, of course, we were sad. I was sad because I miss seeing students in person. I love that connection with our students. But there was an unexpected benefit of going online with our classes. On Saturday mornings here, every Saturday morning when we'd have a class in our big lecture hall, generally we'd have about 200 people attending those classes. Now that we've shifted online, more than 200 people watch the webcast every Saturday morning, and then in the weeks that follow the webcast, the video, of course, remains online, and thousands of people will watch those Saturday morning, now Bhagavad Gita classes every week. So, in fact, we're reaching out to a far wider audience. And as a teacher, I'm very pleased for that. I do miss not seeing classes, not seeing our students in person, but it's very rewarding to know that so many of you are able to take advantage of these online classes. In fact, I've received many emails and comments thanking me for these classes online and saying that at this time of the pandemic, they find it very supportive. Of course, people can't get out as much as they used to and can't go to a temple or an ashram for classes or religious services. So the comments and emails mentioned how supportive it's been to have these classes available every week online. And it's clear that we really need extra support right now as we go through this unprecedented event. We will remember this for the rest of our lives, having gone through this pandemic. It's just such a strange and difficult and stressful time. Many people are dealing with isolation. Many have lost their jobs. Many are cooped up at home. Many are suffering financial problems. All kinds of difficulties brought about by this pandemic. And clearly, it's a time when we need extra support. So putting these classes online to be part of that support is very much a good thing. Before I continue, there's a take-home message right here, and that is we should all be engaged in more supportive activities to help others, and to help others not only in your immediate families, immediate circles, but to reach out and help others in any way possible, in person when it's possible, or online or on the telephone, in any way you can, to recognize that where someone is in need of support and to make that support available. Here at our Arsha Bodha Center Ashram, in addition to putting the classes online, we offer support in other ways. In fact, I mentioned Vasanti. She's on the phone, it seems like hours every day, giving support to many of the students associated with our ashram. Vasanti also manages our Jana Raksha program, which is a program where we have a number of trained volunteers that offer counseling or peer support over the telephone. You can certainly make use of that Jana Raksha program. So these are some of the ways that we continue to offer support to others. But of course, the main kind of support we give here through our programs is, I guess we could call it spiritual support, although that's rather an odd term. The traditional Sanskrit term is satsanga. Satsang is a common way of saying it. Sangha means association, and sat means good people. So association with good people, satsanga, or association with like-minded people, people like you who have discovered the value of spiritual growth, people like you who are on a journey of spiritual growth. To be associated with such people is very supportive. We always love to be in the company of others who share our interests, share our values. And it's more important than you might imagine. Of course, it's something you might enjoy, but satsanga, in the view of traditional teachers, satsanga is considered, surprisingly, the most important spiritual practice. Let me explain. If you were to ask a very big, important spiritual teacher, you ask, "Oh, Master, what is the most important spiritual practice?" More often than not, the answer you will get is satsanga. And satsanga, as I said before, is association with like-minded, spiritually minded people. And you might be surprised by that answer. You might think that, well, satsanga is kind of not a very advanced kind of practice. So then why would these traditional teachers emphasize the importance of satsanga? Well, more than anything else, satsanga gives us the support we need to stay on the path of spiritual growth. This so-called path of spiritual growth is a journey, and for most people it's a long journey. In fact, it's a lifelong journey. It's meant to be a lifelong journey. The problem is that many times when people are on an excessively long journey, they lose enthusiasm. They get tired. And sadly, they might give up their effort and give up the journey altogether. And if somebody gives up a spiritual journey, that's a great loss. On the other hand, when you are surrounded by others, walking the same path that you're walking, you feel so much enthusiasm. You kind of like a sponge, as it were. You pick up on their enthusiasm, and it lifts you up and propels you forward on that lifelong spiritual journey. So this perhaps is the reason that satsanga is considered the most important spiritual practice, because if you don't stay on that spiritual path, on that journey to enlightenment, everything is lost. Satsanga in a wider context includes even if you physically come here for a class, that's a form of satsanga. When you watch one of my discourses on YouTube, that's another form of satsanga. Whether you're associating with like-minded people in person or whether you're doing it virtually, it is all satsanga. And that satsanga, that association with like-minded people, is, in the view of many teachers, the most important spiritual practice. Here at Arsha Bodha Center, we will continue. Of course, we're continuing our online satsanga, but we're getting ready to open for in-person instruction. There are many people in the central New Jersey area who love to come here for classes, and for more than a year we haven't been able to meet. But I think this summer will be a safe and appropriate time to begin a process of reopening. I think we'll begin on Sundays. I think Sunday evening we actually had a program that we called Satsanga, which was an informal gathering, mostly question and answer session. I think we used to have it at 6 p.m. Is it 6 p.m.? Yes. And I think that's the first program we will restart. We haven't picked a date yet, but we'll announce when we restart a Sunday 6 p.m. weekly satsang. And then by fall, I think we'll be ready to open for more of our other regular classes, including our Saturday morning Bhagavad Gita class. And we've also, usually we have a Tuesday evening Vedanta class. We'll be restarting that class as well. Vasanti will be restarting her Sanskrit classes. Excuse me. So all of these classes we hope to resume in fall. Of course, all of this depends on both the local laws and the guidance of our medical community. So we'll be very careful to make sure that our opening is done in a safe and appropriate way. We're not ready to announce the exact dates. A good way to get the dates is from our website. If you go to the home page of our website, you can sign up there for program announcements. Please sign up for the program announcements. That way you'll be informed when the in-person classes resume. By the way, we are not going to discontinue our online program. I promise you our Saturday morning program will continue online, because I do understand that a great many of you live too far away from the ashram to attend programs here in person. Okay. So a part of every anniversary celebration here has been a cultural program. Years ago, we used to invite musicians and classical dancers, and we'd have lovely, lovely programs. After a while, that became a little burdensome, difficult to pull off. So in place of those cultural programs, I would give a special presentation on every anniversary. And we've been doing that for quite a number of years. In fact, last year's anniversary, if you remember, I offered it was a video I had produced on Rabindranath Tagore, the great poet. So that video was part of our anniversary celebration, a special presentation. Today also, we'll have a special presentation. And the special presentation is 2 very short videos I've recently produced, and videos with a very different kind of, I won't say very different, a special orientation. One thing you and I both appreciate is there's something unique about the medium of video. In a video, you can present images and use music. And the use of images and music can evoke emotions much more powerfully than a lecture or a discourse can. So these 2 videos use a lot of imagery and a lot of music, and they try to invoke our emotions in the context of the spiritual journey. In fact, the videos are on the journey of enlightenment. The first of the 2 videos is the first steps of the journey of enlightenment. It's very short, just 10 minutes. So I'd like to share with you this video, Journey of Enlightenment, the first steps. Please watch it and enjoy it. What kind of life do you want? How do you want to live? It's largely up to you. The decisions you make each day give shape and direction to the way your life unfolds. You can choose activities that are physically healthy, emotionally uplifting, and spiritually nourishing. Or you can squander your life, filling those precious moments with meaningless trivia, numbing your mind, deadening your senses, and even harming your body. About 2,500 years ago, the philosopher Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." With these words, he called our attention to deeper dimensions of life, and he encouraged us to seek its highest purpose. About the same time, a similar message was proclaimed by a wise sage in India, who said, if you fail to discover supreme truth in this lifetime, the loss is immeasurable. To explore life's deeper dimensions and pursue its highest purpose is to undertake what many call a spiritual journey, a journey of inner exploration. Before you travel to an unfamiliar place, it's usually helpful to get directions or guidance of some kind. The same is true for a spiritual journey. The enlightened masters of every religious tradition are like guides who can help you find the route that they themselves once traveled. This presentation is based on the wisdom of the rishis, the sages of ancient India. Their teachings are found in Sanskrit scriptures that can serve as a roadmap of sorts, helping you follow in the footsteps of the sages and discover what they discovered so long ago. Every journey begins here. From the moment we're born, we all seek warmth, security, and nourishment in Mother's loving embrace. In other words, we seek happiness and contentment. The contentment we find at Mother's breast is perfect. It's blissful, complete. We feel deeply bonded with Mother, united or merged with her, like when we were still in her womb. That exquisite feeling of oneness and total peace is an experience we all love. We crave comfort and security, and we loathe hunger, pain, isolation, and fear. Simply put, we seek contentment, perfect contentment, and we seek it constantly in every situation throughout our lives. Seeking contentment is fundamental to life. It's a primal drive associated with the instinct for survival that's genetically hardwired in us all. Even a few moments away from Mother can make a baby feel anxious and miserable. In the absence of her loving embrace, a baby no longer experiences perfect contentment. So, a newborn baby naturally considers Mother to be the primary source of happiness and contentment. Father soon becomes another source of happiness and contentment. And before long, a baby's world expands to include many other sources. Sources like cookies and ice cream, and Daddy's silly sounds, and colorful toys of all shapes and sizes. It's hardly surprising that a toddler considers ice cream, cookies, and toys to be objects of happiness. If you had a favorite toy as a child, you probably believed that happiness came from the toy itself. Of course, as adults, we all know that ice cream and toys are not actually sources of happiness. Happiness is not an ingredient in ice cream, like milk and sugar. We know that happiness comes from within, as the saying goes. But children don't know that. As babies, they think happiness comes from Mother. As toddlers, they think happiness comes from cookies and toys. As preteens, they're likely to seek happiness in action-filled video games and fashionable clothes. In each case, children believe the source of happiness to be outside of themselves because they haven't yet discovered that happiness truly comes from within. Yet, for many adults, the situation isn't so different. When you buy a new car or a new outfit, it makes you happy. And that happiness might seem to come from the car or clothes, even though you know better. The desire for happiness can lead you to watch the latest movies, to dine in fancy restaurants, to vacation in exotic resorts, and to purchase every imaginable kind of product, all for the sake of gaining the very happiness that we all say comes from within. So, what's going on here? Everyone makes the same mistake. When we experience pleasurable things and happiness arises within us, it's natural to falsely attribute the source of our happiness to the things we enjoy. But the fact is, happiness is no more present in a new car or a new outfit than it is in ice cream or toys. It seems surprising that so many people seek happiness and contentment throughout their lifetimes without taking even a few moments to consider the true inner source of the happiness they seek. As a result, they spend their entire lives looking for happiness in all the wrong places. A traditional story from India describes a musk deer who smells the distinct scent of a potential mate and eagerly searches the vast forest for the source of that scent, without realizing that it actually emanates from glands on its own body. We're all a bit like those musk deer, searching the vast world for the source of happiness that's actually hidden within us. An ancient rishi contemplated this problem and said, "We're all born with our senses directed outwards into the world. So we naturally look for happiness in the world, not within ourselves. But some wise ones who sought the actual source of happiness turned their attention within and discovered the true self." You too can turn your attention within, as the ancient rishis did. You can use their teachings to guide your personal journey of inner exploration. In this way, you can discover what the rishis discovered, that the true self, the inner reality or divinity they called Atma, is the actual source of happiness and contentment. I hope you enjoyed that video, the first steps of the journey of enlightenment. And you can see how images, and music can have a very powerful emotional effect, can evoke our emotions. And that becomes more compelling. And that's the purpose of these two videos, is to present an introduction to Vedantic teachings in a very compelling manner by invoking emotions. The second of the two videos, the first one was on the first steps of that journey of enlightenment. The second of the two videos are the final steps, the concluding steps of that journey of enlightenment. This video is about 12 minutes in length. Please enjoy it. After years of spiritual practice, Buddha sat at the foot of a tree and gained enlightenment. What would it be like if you became enlightened? How would it feel? Would you merge into the divine source of the universe? Would you overflow with ecstatic joy and delight? Would you be filled with limitless energy and vast wisdom? Questions like these apparently troubled the mighty warrior Arjuna, whose famous dialogue with Lord Krishna is found in the Bhagavad Gita. There, Arjuna asked, "How do the enlightened talk? How do they sit and move about? Do they speak only in Sanskrit? Can they fly through the air?" Of course, silly notions like these reflect an extremely naive perspective. You already know the story of the old master who told his young disciple, "Before getting enlightened, I chopped wood and carried water. Now that I'm enlightened, I chop wood and carry water." The difference, of course, is that he once considered all that hard work to be an unpleasant burden, but now he does it cheerfully and effortlessly. Enlightenment doesn't change your external appearance or behavior, but it does dramatically change your inner reality, the state of your heart and mind. For example, our many desires, all our wants and needs, motivate most of our activities. The old master was initially motivated by his desire for warmth and for cooked food. But after becoming enlightened, all his desires faded away. What motivated him then? Well, he began to enjoy chopping wood and carrying water. He was motivated not by desire, but by a sense of joy and fullness. This shift of motivation is nicely illustrated by a story about a card game. Some old friends gathered together every day to play cards. They enjoyed it because of the skill and strategy involved in the game, and because competing with each other was highly amusing. One of them happened to suggest that the game would be even more interesting if they each made a small wager. After placing their bets, the champion of the day would win $5 or $10, and each loser would forfeit a smaller amount. After a while, they decided to increase the stakes a bit. And over a period of months, the stakes grew larger and larger. Eventually, their daily winnings or losses could be more than $100. They discovered that as the stakes grew higher, they enjoyed the game less and less. Why? Because their motivation had changed. Instead of playing for the sheer joy of it, they were now driven by the desire to win, and also by the fear of losing. Desire and fear motivate many of our actions. But if we're driven mostly by desire and fear, how can we enjoy our lives? The card players didn't enjoy the game when the stakes grew high. And the fact is, the stakes of life, so to speak, are extremely high. You win so much if you get a promotion at work, or if you buy a beautiful new home, or if you're blessed with the birth of a baby. But you can lose so much if you get laid off from work, or if your beautiful new home burns down, or tragically, if a family member dies. The stakes of life are high indeed. In a casino, you can place a bet for many thousands of dollars, and you'll win or lose depending on the cards you're dealt. Imagine how stressful that could be. Maybe that's why many casinos provide alcoholic drinks free of charge. They call it a game of chance, and games are supposed to be fun. But it's not much fun if you're dreadfully worried about losing huge sums of money. On the other hand, suppose you were as wealthy as Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla Motors and SpaceX. Then, if you lost millions of dollars playing cards in a casino, it wouldn't bother you a bit. So it appears that a high-stakes game isn't stressful or threatening at all if you possess enormous wealth, enough to afford losing everything you bet. The sages of ancient India discovered that you already possess a priceless treasure hidden within you, the inner divinity they called Atma, the true self, which is a vast reservoir of love, joy, peace, and compassion. When you discover what the ancient sages discovered, that is, when you become enlightened, then you'll find that you're no longer driven by desire and fear. Instead, you'll feel a profound sense of fullness and completeness. If you were as rich as Elon Musk and lost $1 million playing cards in a casino, you'd still enjoy playing the game, in spite of your huge loss. In a similar way, you'll be able to handle the inevitable losses and tragedies of life without anger or resentment, without despair, self-pity, or suffering of any kind if you've discovered the vast reservoir of love, joy, and peace within you. Also, you'll be able to freely share your priceless divine treasure with others without needing to hold anything back and without needing anything in return, because you'll know that the vast reservoir of love, joy, and peace within you can never be diminished. I hope you enjoyed that video, reaching the goal of the journey of enlightenment. And you can see how videos can be a very powerful means of conveying these Vedantic teachings to a wide audience, not just to a few who happen to know about Vedanta, but to introduce Vedanta to a very wide and general audience. And of course, there'll be many, many more videos coming in the next months and perhaps years. I enjoy producing these videos, and I find it very rewarding that so many people watch and enjoy these videos. So certainly I'll continue to produce them, and maybe every month or two you'll probably see a new video published. And now it's time for us to conclude our rather short celebration of our 21st anniversary. Before concluding, I really want to thank all of you who have given financial support to keep our ashram thriving during this pandemic. We have a great number of local students here in New Jersey who have in fact, their contributions built up our beautiful ashram. So with their continued support, we're able to function. And then so many more of you all over in fact, not only all over the country, now all over the world, donating through PayPal, for example, from countries in Europe and India and other places. And I am so thankful for all of your support. You may know that in this pandemic, a large number of small churches and small businesses have closed down. They failed to survive in these difficult times. But I feel really blessed to have your support, and with your support, we're absolutely in good shape, so we can continue our online classes now, and looking forward, of course, to resuming our in-person classes. I certainly hope to see you again in the near future, online. Hope to see you next Saturday for our next Bhagavad Gita class. I think we'll be finishing chapter 2 in that class. And when we resume our in-person classes in summer and fall, those of you who live here in New Jersey, I really hope you can come back and join us. It'd be wonderful to see all of you here again. I really look forward to seeing all of you in future classes, either in person or online. And I also pray for your health and welfare and well-being and safety throughout this pandemic and in all the coming months and years. Many, many blessings to you all. We'll conclude with a prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschad Dukkha Bhag Bhaveta Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amratangamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat.